Hello everybody, welcome to Tech Pandit session. I am Dan. Today I am going to show you how we can connect to a database instance in a private subnet from our laptop over the internet using SSH Tunnel. So the idea is the database which is residing in a private subnet which I can't access directly over the internet, I will use SSH tunneling to access it from my laptop using my preferred SQL client, like in this case DBeaver. So how does it what are the different components? Let's talk about the different components that we are going to use. So here I'm going to use one EC2 instance which is hosted in public subnet, so that's why I'm calling it BastionHost, which I can directly access from my laptop. I'm going to use one Oracle database which is hosted in RDS and residing in a private subnet. So this instance can't be accessed directly over the internet from my laptop. And I'm going to use one SQL client, that is DBeaver, on my laptop, but you can access any SQL client of your preference like SQL Developer, MySQL Developer, or Toad, anything. So the objective is to connect to the Oracle database from the DBeaver client and run query. So how does the architecture look like? So the architecture here is I have in AWS cloud I have a VPC. Within that VPC I have two subnets. One is public subnet, which is actually public facing subnet, which I can access through directly from any devices or through the internet using the internet gateway, and another subnet which is private subnet, which doesn't have any access outside the VPC. So outside VPC components does not have any direct access to this subnet. So any component or any services residing within this private subnet does not have direct access outside the VPC. So that's how these two subnets are within the VPC. And the EC2 instance I've hosted on the public subnet, and the security group which is attached to the EC2 instance is having the rules or the inbound rules, so that anyone from outside the internet or outside the VPC can access it. Whereas the private subnet, I have the Redshift instance, and which is I have the RDS instance, which is nothing but the Oracle database, and the private security group which is attached to it does not allow any access outside the VPC. So I'm going to use SSH Tunnel, and I'm going to access this Amazon RDS instance or the Oracle database from a SQL client on my laptop over a tunnel, and that will be actually using this EC2 instance as an intermediary object. So the way it will work, like it will use this EC2 instance as an intermediary object to access to this RDS. So you can understand that as these two EC2 instance and the RDS is within the same VPC, so the EC2 instance must be able to access to the RDS. So that's the way it will work. Okay, so let's jump on to the demo part. This is the AWS console. I am logged in. I am connected to the local region, Sydney region, and let's go to the EC2 instance. So I will click on the EC2 console page, and you can see that one instance is running, and this is a T2 microtype instance, and this is a Bastion instance. So that means I can access this instance from my laptop over the internet. So yeah, let me check. Yeah, it has a public IP associated with it, so that means I can access it from my laptop. Let me see the security group. So the security group connected to it having an inbound rule to access via port 22 for the whole internet, so I can access it. So let me just check it. I'll go to click on connect, and this is the SSH command that I need to type. So just I'm copying it, and then let me open the terminal. So this is the terminal, my local machine terminal. So what I will do, I'll just paste the command, SSH command, to connect to that Bastion instance using the key. This key is available in the local machine in the current folder. Just press enter. Yes, so I'm now logged into the EC2 instance. So if I'll do like sudo yum update, yeah, so it's running. So it is up to date, but it's running. So that means I'm able to access to this Bastion host from my local machine. Now let's check the RDS instance. So let me click on RDS, and yeah, so I will go to the RDS console, and here I can see one DB instance is available. It's an Oracle database instance, DBT3 small type, and let me click on that instance. You can see the endpoints are given, endpoint, and the port, standard Oracle port 1521 port number is given, and we can see that public accessibility is no. So that means this instance I cannot access publicly. That means the instance is not available over the internet. I have to access it through some means within the VPC. And let me see the VPC group. What does the VPC security group is saying? So let me click on the security group, and the security group is the inbound rules. Okay, right now the inbound rule is limited to some IP. Let me change it. Let me change this inbound rule to the security group. Let me allow access to this database instance from this EC2 instance. So let me get the security group name of this EC2 instance, which is demo bastion sg. So I will allow demo bastion sg. So what I'm doing, I'm allowing this security group to access this port 1521, which is the port for this RDS instance. So I'm allowing access. So so the other way, actually I'm allowing the Bastion host to access to this database. So let me check if my Bastion host can access this. So if I'll take this, go here, do a telnet to this IP and the port, yes, it's allowed. So my Bastion host can access the RDS instance. Now let me get out of it. Okay, now let me come out of the EC2 instance also. Let me run the same telnet command to see if I'm able to access this RDS instance from my local machine. So if I'll do that, it's trying. So that means it is trying. So that means it is not. Actually, it is not. After some time, it will give a timeout error. So it is not able to access that. It means. So what I have to do, I have to now create the tunnel. So how do I create the tunnel? To create the tunnel, I have to run execute a command. So I have to create the tunnel. In other terms, I have to create the tunnel. So I'm just quitting this. Let me wait for some time for telnet to come out. I think it's not going to come out. Let me just do Control C. Yeah, it's coming out now. Let me clear the screen. Okay, now what I have to do, I have to type some command. So SSH -n -i, then I have to provide the name of the key, which is this one. Then I have to provide option -l. Let me make it bigger. -l. Then I have to give some local port number. So whichever port in the local machine I want to access, or I want to create this tunnel. So let me type 5000 as a port number. Then I have to get the endpoint URL. So this is the endpoint URL. I have to paste this. Then the port number of the RDS instance, which is 1521. And then how do I access to the EC2 instance? So EC2 hyphen user at the rate, then I have to give the IP address of the EC2 instance, which is nothing but this. So this is what I have to type, the public IP of the EC2 instance. So you can see the tunnel. What does this command contain? So SSH -n -i, the key, public key, or the key for the to access the Bastion host, and then -l, I'm providing the local port number, then the RDS instance endpoint and RDS instance port number, and then EC2 user at the rate public IP of the Bastion host, and then press enter. I think there is some problem. Permission denied. Did I do something wrong? Oh, sorry. The name of the key is not exactly correct. So name of the key has an extension .pem, and I'm running. So you can see that now the command is in execution. That means the tunnel is now created. So if the tunnel is now created, what I can do, I have to open a DBeaver. So this is my DBeaver, and I'm going to connect to a database. So I'm going to create a connection. It's Oracle database. I'm selecting Oracle. So I have to, in a host, in place of host, I have to provide the host name. Database is ORCL. So just to double verify, if I'll go to the RDS instance and go to the configuration, we can see the DB name is ORCL. So localhost database ORCL, port is 5000, because this is trying to connect the tunnel through the local machine. So first it is trying to connect the localhost 5000 port, and that other point of the tunnel, the other end of the tunnel, is actually the RDS endpoint, RDS instance, or the RDS host. So this is what I have to do. The username is, if we'll go here, the username I know, the username is admin. Password I'll type. So this is the password. That's all. And if I'll do a test connection, we can see the connection is done. So the connection is established. Let me do one thing. Let me just cancel this tunnel. If I'll cancel this tunnel and do a test connection, it's not happening. It's giving me error. Let me do one thing. Let me try to connect the RDS instance directly. So let me use this endpoint and use the port 1521, and the tunnel is not running. Let me do a test connection. No, it's not happening. It is just going into a loop. So it is not able to connect. It is trying to connect, but it will not be able to connect. It will ultimately give an error. So for that reason, we need to establish this tunnel, localhost, and then 5000, and then start the tunnel. So you can see that you have the flexibility. Whenever you need to connect, you just take a console access, and let's just create the tunnel and just do the connection. So it is done. You do finish, and then you have the connectivity, and you see that we can able to connect to the database directly. Just open a SQL editor, and then just create queries. Select star from $v instance, let's say. because this is a very blank database. It doesn't have any table or anything. So that's the reason I'm just querying a metadata table, so that just you can see that I'm now connected to the database. And that's how that's how it works. So and that's how it works. So always remember how does the tunnel is working. So the tunnel actually is created between your local machine to the RDS instance using this public subnet EC2 instance. One side of the tunnel is our local machine. That's the reason when we are giving our endpoint in the DBeaver or in the client, in the SQL client, I am providing as local host and the local port number, which I have given in the tunnel creation. And the other side of the tunnel is actually the RDS endpoint and the port number, and the tunnel is using this one as an intermediary. That's the reason we have to provide the key to connect to this EC2 instance. And that's all for SSH tunneling. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And if you feel that your friends can be benefited from this video, please share this with others. Thank you.